Hello, I'm Digital Trucker, and I am the owner of the Enchanted Isles Minecraft server. And today we are going to build one of these. This is an iron farm. It's optimized, it's compact, and right now this one's ugly because there's nothing surrounding it. This is everything that is absolutely necessary for this to function. Got the spawning platform, villagers, our named zombie, and this is a really key piece. But first, let's go over some of the basic mechanics of how these things work. Golems are spawned basically by villagers being panicked. Now, villagers, when they're panicked or when they wish to spawn a golem, will spawn a golem within 16 blocks horizontally or 13 blocks vertically of their location, which in this case is a little 3x3 square containing their beds and 3 pieces of floor for them to stand on. So this means for this iron farm you need 19 by 19 by 13 area clear. That's where your golems are going to want to spawn. So what you have to do is anything that's inside of here has to be proofed against spawning except for that platform where you want them to. Otherwise you get stray golems, the villagers are happy, no more golems, your farm stops producing. One other key thing is in my designs I only use 3 villagers. And the reason for that is the game sees this as a village. And once you get more than 4 villagers, they start spawning cats. Now there is a cat cap in the game of 10. So they'll spawn cats until there's 10 cats running around. Once there's 10 cats running around, no more golems spawn. Now you can run around and you can kill cats, but if you don't kill that cat within 16 blocks of a villager, they don't know about it and it doesn't affect the cap. Now I have come up with this. It's a cat trap. But again, because they have to die within 16 blocks of a villager, it's just easier to limit your villagers to 3 and you don't have the problem to begin with. And even with 3 villagers, you're going to get some pretty good production. So, this design here contains everything necessary. You've got your villagers. Notice their beds point away from the zombie. They have to be facing that way so that when the villagers go to sleep, they don't actually see the zombie and stay scared and wake back up. This is the spawning platform. One thing of interest in this is these. If you use any sort of solid blocks on either side, when golems spawn, they can get stuck. They'll stick to the sides and they won't go down the slide until they move and the water can grab them. If you use glass panes or stone walls, the golems don't get stuck. It doesn't work with fences. It has to be either glass panes or stone walls. Okay, next item is this. This is really the smallest practical kill pit you can have. And I prefer to use soul campfires over lava because with lava there's always a slight chance of item loss because it bounces up, gets burned up in the lava. Campfires do not destroy items. And I use soul campfires because they do double the damage of regular campfires. So it's still a little bit slower than lava, but not much. And it's certainly a lot safer, especially if you happen to fall into your own pit. The other item is this tripwire system. What this does is the output of these runs into this torch inverter so that when there's a golem in the pit, the zombie is retracted, the villagers are calm. This helps to reset their AI. The villager AI can get stuck, and when it gets stuck, they'll run around and panic, but no golems will spawn. So their AI needs to be reset from time to time. And this leads me to the last feature of this farm, which is this. This is an automatic AI reset system. Basically what happens is every time night falls, this daylight sensor, which is in night mode, sends its output to this observer, which converts it into a pulse, which gets sent into this pulse extender, which lengthens that pulse out to a minute, which retracts the zombie for 1 full minute at nightfall, so the villagers will sleep and they get a good AI reset. It works. You'll also get a pulse when daylight happens, but of course they won't be sleeping. I've tested this extensively on the Enchanted Isles server and in private worlds, and I haven't had it fail yet. For example, on the Enchanted Isles server, we have a sleep plugin. So sometimes nighttime only lasts as long as it takes for players to sleep. That's not long enough for the AI to reset. So even if night falls, players sleep instantly. Zombie still gets retracted for a minute. AI still gets reset. Farm still produces. Alright, now this is a fairly small farm as iron farms go. It's about as compact as it could possibly be. It's 14 blocks long, 5 blocks wide, and if you roof over your spawning area for your golems, it's only 14.5 blocks tall. These can be tiled. You can build another one right on top of your old one. But then, of course, you're going to have more than 3 villagers, and you'll have cats. So, I've got the item list is down in the description, and this is everything you need to build it in survival. Of course, you're going to need a zombie. You're going to have a named zombie so that it doesn't despawn. And you need to start off with at least 2 villagers, because you can always breed the third. But if you can load up 3 villagers to start off with, of course that's better. So now I'm in creative mode, so all I really need is 1 of each of these. So let's load up my inventory here with all the goodies we're gonna need. I'll leave these here for a second. There's some special fun stuff we've got to do with those guys. And we'll leave these guys here too for now because, well, no sense getting crazy. Okay, first thing to do, lay out our base. 5 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And the little annex for our sensor system. And right down the other side we go. And that is our base. Let's go ahead and put our hoppers in, feeding into the chest. And we can proceed to fill everything else in. It's a good idea to fill up any available voids inside this thing. It just helps to prevent things like cats or anything from spawning where you don't want it to spawn. You can light it up, but that doesn't stop cats, and if you fill it up with your structural blocks, it just eliminates the problem at the source. So we might as well start back to front here, and let's go with, we'll just start laying it out. We might as well start off with our pulse extender, which is just, this is the input. It feeds into a dropper, which goes into a hopper. And then you've got a comparator and a repeater going into a structural block with a redstone torch on the end of it. And that's that. And then over here, going this way, is another comparator and repeater system going the other way. This repeater the delay needs to be set to maximum, that one to minimum. And that feeds into, of course, this hopper goes into this dropper. When this dropper activates, shoves the item back into the hopper. It just, one single item just goes back and forth. This is the timer section of the pulse extender. You put items in here, and the time it takes for them to go back, everything you've got in there, the time it takes for them to go back and forth, that determines how long your output pulse will stay on for. And to get our output, we just slap down a comparator, a little stab of redstone, and there's our output. We got our input, output. Now, let's grab our poppies out of here, because this is what we're going to use to time the thing. First of all, and you can use any item whatsoever as long as they're all identical. So stick one single item in the dropper, and then you put 75 items in the middle hopper here. And what that does is that gives you an output pulse of roughly 1 minute. Plenty of time to reset the villager AI, and you don't lose much production. So that's really all there is to that. So now we'll lay down our soul campfires. All the better to kill our golems with. And I like lots of glass in my builds because I like to see what's going on. And the nice thing about glass is that even with a full glass block, you can open your chest. There, see? See how this guy spawned here? Because we're actually building this within range of these active villagers. So, and just by placing this one block up, put this area within range. So let's just go ahead and, I built a little kill line, and let's just get rid of him. This is set up to kill because we can choose, we can make it day, we can make it night, we can stop the daylight cycle or resume the daylight cycle. Currently it's stopped at noon. But if we allow night to fall, we can get mobs, so this is our mob killer. Everything except zombies because, well, we don't want to kill our pet zombie up there. Tell you what we'll do, this is the one other feature I didn't cover, is this. It's an on-off switch. Basically, once this switch is flipped, the zombie stays retracted permanently. It doesn't completely stop golems from spawning, but it really, really reduces it. So if your storage area is getting full, you can basically turn the farm off and turn it back on. Okay. Yeah, so like that there. And just structural blocks here. And more structural blocks here. This is up the back side. Now these, as you can see over here, no matter what you use, these three need to be actual solid blocks. You can't use glass or anything else because the block itself needs to be powered. What's on the other side here, that's not so bad. So let's just go ahead and go up, which is now the base of our villager floor is 7 blocks up. So we already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. here, this 3x3 block space here is where our villagers will live. And again, you want the beds facing away from the zombies. And because the space they live in is 3 blocks high, a golem could potentially spawn in there. So, we give our villagers some nice carpet on their floor, and golems can't spawn in there with them. So, that sorts out that problem. I'll build this up a little bit. Alright, now, one thing I like to do, and this is entirely optional, but I like blinky redstone lamps. So this way, not only can you actually see a golem when they're in the kill pit, but when they trigger these tripwire hooks, when they trigger the tripwires, it'll actually light those up. It's fun to look at. Everybody likes blinking lights. Okay. Now let's finish boxing in. We've got to have, of course, we got to have a block separating our villagers from our zombie. We don't want our zombies to actually be able to kill our villagers or turn them into zombies, because oh, if he does, and one of these guys gets zombified, or things get bad in a hurry. And again, I like to use glass because I like to see what's. See? Look at you. Look at you. Let's make you go bye-bye. I like to have lots of glass because I like to see what the villagers are doing, if they're panicking, if they're sleeping. It just helps to monitor what's going on. Frankly, you just never quite know with these guys. Villagers are notoriously stupid. And just to help protect them even more, we'll give them a little bit of light. Now when the villagers are in here, they can see the zombie can see them, they get scared, run around, works good. Terrorizing villagers for fun and profit. Now I'll leave it up to you guys to figure out how to get your villagers in there. There's any number of ways. Me, I'm gonna cheat, because that's how I roll. Actually, I'm gonna make these glass too. Nice big windows. Just because we're terrorizing our villagers doesn't mean we don't want them to be unhappy. Okay, there we go. Now we'll make a spot for our zombie to stand. Which is, he gets to ride a piston up and down. Yay, he'll like that. Alright, and right below that, we will place our redstone torch repeater. When it's on, zombies up. And when there's a golem in the kill pit, this gets activated, turns the torch off, turns the piston off, zombie goes down, villagers get a break. The last thing we need to do is we need to hook up our output from our pulse extender into the other side of this, so that when you get an output there, it connects up. And that's fairly easy to do. We just do that and da, 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 da. So that, now their output's connected. So when that kicks on, it'll also invert the torch. Alright, let's see here. Now we gotta, let's go ahead and throw in our observer. There we go. It's always awkward trying to place observers. And then up above that is our daylight sensor set to night mode. And a little bit of redstone on there to get lit up when this sends a signal. This lights up, observer sees it, gives the output into this, which inputs into the rest of it. And that will stay retracted for 1 minute. Now, you can build these farms from, I mean, the top of this farm could be at build height, and you could put the bottom at bedrock level. They'll work anywhere in between. If you build it underground, all you've got to do is just extend your observer chain so that this sees open sky. You could have a glass, you could have a line of glass blocks up above it, or you could extend it up. Either way works. As long as this can see open sky, this deal will work. Okay, now then, let's finish. Let's go ahead and put a roof over our villagers. And while we're here, you know what? Let's go ahead and get some villagers in there. Using spawn eggs like this, there's a small chance you might get a baby villager, and that can cause problems, but oh good, we got all adults. That's handy. Hopefully when we spawn our zombie, we don't get a baby zombie in there, because baby zombies can jump through the gap, and, well, we'll just hope that doesn't happen. Obviously, if you're working in survival, you're wrangling a villager or a zombie in yourself, you won't have to worry about that. Alright. So our water slide is going to be 8 blocks by 3 blocks. 8 blocks being the maximum length of a standard bucket trail. And it works out well for all the equipment underneath. Okay, now then, we're going to want those. So, as you can see there, we'll have our, got to have a 3 block high space for golems to spawn in. Anything less than 3 high, golems won't spawn. And down the sides, in this case we're going to use glass panes, because again we don't want our golems actually getting stuck on the sides. You can use stone walls, they work just as well. For fences don't work, they're just uneven enough that golems can get hung up on them. So either want stone walls or glass panes. I like glass panes. I like to see what's going on. And just to make it all look good, let's just glass the whole thing right on in. Okay. Let's finish building that up. Actually, you know what? We're going to leave that like that. Okay. It's always awkward placing glass panes on top of one another like this. It's so easy to make a mistake. Thank goodness for creative, or if you don't have creative, having silk touch tools. I mean, glass isn't that expensive to make, but it just sucks when you break it and it disappears. There is our basic system. Now let's see what we're going to do here. Is we're going to take this out because, again, I like lots of blinking lights. So we're going to do something else that is entirely optional, but I think looks good. And that 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put redstone lamps there. And more tripwires, so that way when a golem spawns in here and moves down, these lights will light up as he goes. And it just looks cool. Completely optional and not necessary, except that, well, looking cool is necessary. And of course it's at head height, so the golems cannot get stuck on these. And that's pretty much that. Now what we'll do is gotta have ourselves a bucket of water. Well, actually you need 2 buckets, but since this is creative, and there's our water slide. Last thing to do, because again, we don't want these guys spawning where they shouldn't. Golems will not spawn on glass blocks. They also will not spawn on half slabs. So this way they won't accidentally spawn up here. It's just out of range, so they shouldn't. But of course, depending on where you build it, you could have other bad guys spawn up here, like zombies and skeletons and that sort of thing. Might as well discourage them too. Now, let's finish building our zombie container. And again, I do like to use glass so that I can see what is going on. Now there's no way, especially with this here, we spawn that zombie in there, he cannot get out. He can't jump out, he can't get out. He's in there. Unless, of course, we have the real bad luck of this egg giving us a baby zombie Fingers crossed. Let's grab our name tag, because the zombie will despawn if he's not named. And of course you got to protect him from the sunlight and that sort of thing. So, oh good, we got an adult. Welcome to the farm, Rob. Rob Zombie is now, excuse me, now powering our farm. It's not uncommon when you first build these in daylight for them to not produce. Usually your villagers have to go through one sleep cycle before the farm will actually kick in. So let's go ahead and shed some light on the subject. See, now notice that triggered, so we've got our 1 minute pulse going out. He's going to be down for at least a minute. Oh boy, they sure do spawn good on a super flat world, don't they, guys? Okay. Daytime! Get rid of the extra bad guys. Of course, that doesn't affect zombies because we don't want, well, we don't want our pet zombies getting killed now, do we? Now, with any luck, we should start getting some action. So these things can be tricky sometimes. Well, while we're waiting, let's finish glassing this in. Perhaps it wasn't nighttime long enough. So they can be a little finicky to start up. Once they do, they usually do a good job of running on forever. Ah, see, there he goes. Except that he jumped down and jumped back up. So, let's make it daytime. Ooh, look at all the zombies. Okay, let's lock that in. Building these farms this close to each other means this one is, they don't usually work too well when they're that close together. It's better to have them separated. But for the purposes of this video, this will be fine. Let's go ahead and add our on-off switch, because, and that should do the trick. While we're waiting for this farm to stop producing, it's probably going to want to embarrass me because, well, that's just the nature of things. Start filling in your empty holes. One thing that's important is you don't want to stick a block here. You stick a block there, you break the redstone chain. So you got to be kind of be careful where you fill them. So I bet you these guys, I bet you these guys are spawning a golem over here. Well, you'll have that when you build them this close. What are you doing? Well, let's just disable. Just to further not inspire golems to spawn here. They don't spawn on glass. There we go. Now they're not interfering with each other. And it's working as intended. Tell you, these spawn mechanics can sometimes be real tricky. Let's get everything all filled up. One other thing, especially on servers, it's not so bad on your own worlds, but it works everywhere. If you're not actually using hoppers, see, these hoppers are actively being used to suck items in. These hoppers here are just part of a clock, or if you're using, they're not being used to actually suck anything in, and you don't want them to. Block them off with composters. What that does is that disables the mechanism for them actually looking for things to suck up. And especially on servers, that's good because that helps to reduce server lag. It's just less load on a server when they don't have hoppers constantly looking for things to suck up. If you're playing on a server, the server owners will thank you. And let's stick slabs on. Oh, not there. We got to go up one further. My bad. Slabs. Golems won't spawn there. They won't spawn on top of the daylight sensor, so you don't have to worry about that. Don't want to put a block there. Put a block there. You'll break that redstone line. Things stop working. Said it's just a good idea to fill everything up just for insurance. I'm using iron blocks here. In your world, you may want to use something cheap like stone, cobblestone, whatever does the job. And there you go. One finished iron farm. The AI will reset automatically, so this, as long as it's turned on, it's going to produce. Like I said, the only thing you need to worry about is if you've got bad omen, you want to stay away from this thing. The game thinks it's a village, and if you come near this thing with bad omen, you're going to start a raid, and you don't, unless you want that. Most people don't. You can watch the golems in action. You can visually check the health of your zombie and your villagers. And even if you're a fairly long way away, you can tell when it's working by watching redstone lamps light up. So that's how you build one of these. And with that, we're done. Hey, thanks for watching this video, and big thanks to Synth for figuring out the way to keep the golems from getting stuck in the iron farm. And come visit us in the Enchanted Isles. Bring your shaders. Bye.